people, hello beloveds. It has been a hot minute since I have come to play with you guys. I have set some goals. There were a lot of missing pieces that I had to work on to pull together in order to make sense of all the things that I've been doing. Yes, I'm Karma. Welcome to Karma on Deck. You guys are all here for that, right? I've been reading tarot for upwards of 30 years now. I don't like to count the extras because I'm up over 50 now, so it's like 33, 34 in another couple weeks. I've worked with a bunch of different modalities over the years. I've learned Reiki, I'm an NLP practitioner. I've taught tarot. I now teach a 12-week course. And, there has always been this drive. There's been this fever almost to learn. The last 3 years I've been working with Adam Ellenboss and studying Hellenistic astrology with him. I'm doing year 1 and year 2. There's horary and so much to do still, which I kind of stick with the astrology though, because that's just more for my own brain to have a puzzle to pick apart. And I just kind of love it. Everybody asks me if I'm going to do readings, and I'm like, good Lord, no. That's like a whole lifetime of study that I feel I yet have to do to make sense of that. To others, it's their pure channel. Astrology is one of those things that people just pick up and suddenly it's like a math that they understand or a language they're able to read. For me, that was the drum. I've been studying, all these different modalities. At one point, I was a student midwife, and life changed lanes a little bit for me where I didn't have that finishing, but I have that education. So I have all this fun education, and started thinking about how to blend them. And it wasn't until I felt the call of the drum that it's all started to make sense. It's the missing link for me. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about a little bit today, was the drum, the ceremonial drum. Everybody's excited about the drum and they have a lot of questions and they go, you do drum circles? And I'm like, no, we do drum ceremonies. It's not that we're offended. It's just that there's a difference in the sacred way with which we handle and utilize the drum in ceremony versus drum circle. I want you to think of drum circle as like a musical performance. It's beautiful, we collaborate, we sound good. Yet when we do ceremony, and ceremony meaning ritual, what we do is we set a conscious intent and a container for the environment. And, we call upon our ancestors and our guides and light beings, etc., to come in and work on our behalf. We call in the animal of the medicine that we're dealing with. We have, this one is elk, and each one of them has a theme, that we work with. The medicine of the drum, even though we have the animals to work with and the theme within each one, and I'll get into that in a minute, but, our very first experience before we take the first breath of life is surrounded in vibration. I can talk about that and romanticize it a little bit, while we're embraced in the waters of life and the whooshing of the breath and the heartbeat and the comforting rhythmic little symphony that we have going on. But what's true, if we look at this in a scientific standpoint, the drum reproduces the vibrational state that reminds our cells of creation. Because in the very beginning, we're creating cells for the very first time ever. Cells are splitting, they're being told what to do, and off they go. And there's quantum level information sharing that's going on there, where the cells have an understanding that we don't even have to explain to them. I bet you we could measure it if our science could catch up. Because here's what I know to be true. The drum and vibrational therapy, sound therapy, has an effect on a primordial state. It's an instinctual, nonverbal transmission of information. And we the brain thinking in pictures, we can think our way into those cells and tell them what to do. They're just looking for direction, right? So this is where we take a little leadership and we start becoming that co-creator and utilizing the drum. So, there's so much to this. I could go and go and go, but let's talk about it for just a minute. Might as well, because I did like a little intro video with you guys where I wasn't as cohesive. But there's a science to this. If you go into sacred geometry, for example, there's all these conical structures and spirals that go on, right? That's the cells and the spiral of life and the vortex. We have all of this information that tells us about vibration and energy. If we stick sand on a plate and we turn a certain tone or a certain frequency or megahertz on there, it will create a pattern. Hi there! I can barely see, I don't have my glasses. So when we have the sand on a vibrational plate, what ends up happening is it will create its own individual pattern based on the frequency that's going on. What's true is the cells are reorganizing themselves around that pattern of vibration. When you consider, I wanted to bring in that you would consider that communities had bells at their bell towers in their churches. Vibrations were a part of religious and spiritual life. Even in modern Christianity, we had, the organs and the bells and the chimes and the choir, vibrational therapy set with intent, that God note that we hit. We can break this down. I have over 70 documents that I have written out of 4 or 5 notebooks after the last 6 months of training that I've gone through with Holly Hope at Beauty of Perspective. I just have to say, if you're considering taking a training with her, worth every penny. I picked up every pearl that I possibly could. But what's true is, 70 different documents that I took notes on and collated and organized that talk about the different ways energy moves, what different frequencies are that affect our energy body, what chakras they represent, what a sharp and a flat affect it, how to work an energy center above and below, how to move it. So when I talk about the ceremonial drum, we're utilizing old ways in new ways. That's my new theme for 2024. Old ways and new ways, where all things must be done in a sacred manner. It's time for us to start treating our spirituality like we do the gym. It's time for us to start behaving as if spirituality does matter. Our love life matters. Our bank account matters. Our diet matters. Our spirituality is a leg in the table that matters. And the thing about the drum is we have shortcuts. The drum does the heavy lifting where we can't get there energetically, we can with the drum. One of the most basic principles of utilizing a drum is in meditation, where we can create a trance-like state, right? Where we get to meditate and slip our gears for just a little bit. You can utilize the drum in meditation. You can utilize the drum to bring up energy, power, bang, bang, bang. We can release frustration in that way. We can dance, we can play. So as far as meditation goes, the drum is an incredible tool. I want you to think about what happens when we're in a drum ceremony. We have a group of people with a focused intent. And then the very next thing that we have is power, amplification, right? Where we are able to utilize a group of sound and energy that we can amplify that effect and set that intention off a little higher. That's the power of group drumming. When we utilize the drum along with other sound tools, for example, the singing bowls, the bells, the rattles, the rain sticks, in an individual session, what we have is what I call a surgical. We can become a little more surgical with our energy clearing, and we can affect certain energy centers. Now, I'm going to show you some of the drums that I have that I utilize in my practice, and what they can each do, so you have a little bit of an understanding of that depth. Because when you go on the website and choose a drum, you might want to know some of the medicine that you're working with, and I'll help you with that step by step. That's part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you today, because I have a lot of people asking me questions about what's going on with it. So one of the things we do is meditate with it. We can also utilize it for healing in a group ceremony or individual, where we go into each chakra and we utilize a specific drum with a specific hide and meditation. Also, the size of the drum gives us a certain tone, because certain chakras operate at certain frequencies. We can target those different chakra energy systems on purpose, and we can get energy to move. The drum does the heavy lifting. Even if you don't set an intention, the drum is going to have that same effect. So not only do we have the hide, we have the frequency, we have the intention, and then each drum beater, activator that we use on the drum has a different effect also. So you can potentiate layer upon layer upon layer. So amongst the different frequencies, we have multiple different ways that we can use this. The drum is also bonding. So if you're drumming with others, you can create that familial connection, that tribal feeling that we're also drawn to. And it's, I've always been envious of cultures that still have this alive with them, because I felt like I was a little left out, and, or wishing that we had preserved that a little better. And within each culture on every continent, there's evidence of the drum. We have the Druids, we have the Americas, we have Africa, we have war drums, we have these beautiful examples of what the drum can be utilized for in a group setting. And that's what we're cultivating in drum ceremony and in drum circle versus drum circle. But there is also, that bonding that goes on when we drum just for fun as well. So don't forget that the drum can be for play. But remember, for the most part, we're dealing with cellular reprogramming with the drum. And it is a delightful journey. I've never had so much fun in my life. I've been a psychic for my whole life, professionally for a good decade or two. I've been reading cards since I was 20, so 33 years of reading cards and diving into the spiritual community. And all I can say is all the mediumship that I've done, the tarot reading that I've done, the drum has been the clearest channel of anything I've ever utilized. I highly encourage you to play with the drum if you have one, or if you want to get one, or you want to do a drum ceremony, reach out and we will play. Have drums will travel. So that's part of the reason I'm on here tonight, is to give you some information. So some of you are asking, how do you make your own drum, and how do you get your own if you wanted one custom made? If you're seeing something that you like, or you want a theme along those lines, this is where you reach out to me or go online, and you'll have an idea of what you're purchasing when I show you these babies. So this one's a good 24-inch elk. Elk is determination, strength, pride. It has to do with that crown, right? Our glory, our crown. Elk has a lot to do with, I like to associate elk with the element of water. Elk is your generational trauma. The red is your womb healing, that feminine energy that we're working with. Typically, when we have a womb drum, that would be cow, because there's those phases of life like a woman does that we can utilize cow. But this one is elk. This one is a dream weaver. And elk helps us with generational trauma, both forward and back. So elk helps us when we're working on our shadow work. This one has some pretty deep and profound sounds. I know it doesn't translate over the videography, but if you could feel her, it's just pretty incredible how she whomps against your entire energy field. I call her my shield maiden, because if you look at her, she covers my entire auric field from the chin down to the root, and I can cover it all in one shot. I call her Remedy, because I've had her for 3 years now, and she seems to fix all the things. I'm not sure exactly if I'm getting these inches right or these measurements for you, but we're going to give you a good idea. That's 24 inch. I think this one is 20. This one is Deer. She's one of my favorites, another dream weaver. These are not easy, by the way. If you want to make a dream weaver, I can teach you, but it's going to take some one-on-one coaching with that and a little bit of assistance with it. I'll help you with it. But this one is challenging, but worth it. Worth it. It didn't take me as long as I thought it would. Remedy about 3 hours, but this one took me only about 2, which we were surprised. I thought I'd be up till like 3 in the morning. This is one of the first drums that I made. But Deer, this one is Deer. Deer is our heart. Deer drives the heart. So what I mean by drives is when you have something soft that subtly opens your energy field, or your energy body, or if someone makes you feel or evokes an emotion within you, that blossoming of a feeling of something like passion or heartfelt energy, this is the deer drives that. So it's like the engine on the train. The deer is vulnerability, tenderness, the maiden. She is soft, higher heart. When you drum with deer, it's just gonna come up and burst through that throat and give you that freedom of expression. Deer is a very tender, genuine, subtle, beautiful energy. I love working with deer. There's deer. I'm going to show you some heavy body work, like the buffalo. Here is one of the most sacred in my studies that I did. Like I said, I've got pages and pages and pages of notes. It was like I was channeling. No, I was channeling. I was like twitching. I was up till 5 a.m. with buffalo. I got to tell you Buffalo's story. I had been sick right before the retreat. So when I made buffalo, it was recommended that I take a break. So I took a break. She said, soak the drum back in the aura bath with the selenite and soften it up, and you can finish it in the morning. However, so I had been having visions of the story of buffalo, and I got visions of the white buffalo. I got visions of tribe. And when I had done some homework before doing the drum itself, I had written down some of the meanings. And, I didn't get the profundity. It was so profound, the message that buffalo came to me of like how sacred buffalo medicine is. Like, I don't think I had a true relationship with the word sacred in my life. Like, I think I understood that I behaved and treated things in a sacred way, but all I can say is there's something holy about buffalo. There's something reverent and sacred about handling this medicine that it evokes within you. But I had gone to bed, and I'd been in the hospital and sick, and so I was like, go to sleep. And no, buffalo was like, you're setting a grid on how you on how you make drums moving forward. So stay in the energy, continue channeling buffalo. And I ended up finishing buffalo and literally channeling and writing until like 5 a.m. But when I wrote down the words protection, provision, food, clothing, housing, and protection, I really didn't integrate, right? I didn't activate what that really meant. But when I got my drum done, I was realizing that it was so hard to pull on this hide. It was so thick, it looked like a 1/4 inch thick, and it was heavy, and I had to pull on it. There was a realization that this is as hard as glass and as thick as a window pane. And I got to thinking of building a home out of this animal that's as big as a car. If you waxed this or if you oiled it, like what kind of protection that would be for us. This is on a 1/2 inch cedar wood frame, and it's super solid. And buffalo is not only strength, but it's tribe. There is some connection that goes on with buffalo that alchemizes that tribal connection. It brings your ancestors through. I saw people. That's why I named my ceremonies Medicine of the People, is I saw people, that how the buffalo works with the people. And it teaches you. Buffalo is a teacher. So it provides everything that is needed. They use buffalo for tools. They use buffalo for clothing. They use buffalo for food. They used it for, their housing. Like, it's just incredible. So one of the messages that buffalo has, see, I could go on all day. One of the messages that buffalo has, or one of the catchphrases that we have, is that we say, whatever is needed is already provided. It's already here. For some of us, there was some shifting that happened. Everything's been kind of rocky since COVID. Fearfulness. And so buffalo tends to evoke that fearlessness within us. And there's something soothing and nurturing. And I remember thinking, I can't fall asleep. And I thought, well, what if I meditate on buffalo while I go to sleep? And I thought to myself, is there anything soft about buffalo? And buffalo came in immediately and said, nurturing. What could be more soft than nurturing? Like a mother's embrace or a warm bowl of soup. Buffalo is very nurturing. Very ancient wisdom and activation with buffalo. But if you notice, when you do your own drum and you make your own, you see inside here, I wrote, Holly said, are you putting a sigil on each one of those? And I said, no, Next thing you know, there's 16 sigils. So I wrote a sigil to focus on for what I wanted to activate: humanitarianism, femininity, water, flow, crowned empress, ascended high priestess. We've got the broken arrow of peace, 20 degrees north northeast for Venus, and then Venus again, and then femininity. These are all together for that feminine maiden mother crone. So as you write each thing inside of there, these are the things that you're activating. So this is buffalo. I am so in love. It looks silly, like a little guy in a fur coat maybe. But I had tried to put some fur on here to support these strings against my hand, but buffalo. Let's see here. We've got Honu. She's a 12-inch deer. She's been in ceremony for a minute here. So you can order a drum, custom made, and say this is what I want, and I can channel a piece for you. You can have artwork designed on there for you, dyed in color, but that might take a little more time. If you want bear, there is a wait list, but I'm in love with bear. We talked about deer, we talked about elk, we talked about buffalo. Let's talk about bear. So bear is, when I channeled bear, the first thing that came through was it's very difficult to explain the peace that I get from playing with bear. It's that bear has a tendency to hibernate and has a very comfortable relationship with death and renewal. So if you want some drive, what it is like when you've gone inward and you've taken all the time that you need. I just want you to imagine going somewhere. What happens when you go somewhere and you're in a rush? You're not put together. If you go somewhere and you've had 2 hours to get ready, or it's later in the afternoon and everything you have to do is done, and you show up in a very relaxed, competent, comfortable, easygoing state, that is bear. Bear evokes, through withdrawal, we come back more empowered. There's this push from bear that gives us that extra energy within it. This one happens to be an F, which is that higher heart, and I just have to say that bear is pretty relentless too. I want you to think of tribe when you think of bear medicine, because there's a reason that we utilize mama bear, brother bear, baby bear, because that evokes tribe. So bear has to do with tribe and bonding and that family. Also, never forget mama bear is rar. Okay, we have mama bear who is literally the protector, and they're pretty vicious. Speaking of vicious, did you know that a herd of buffalo is called a gang? Sorry, I just love that. Or an obstinacy. I just wanted to mention that when I was doing my research on buffalo is one of the most cunning and aggressive animals to hunt. And they're very cunning. So you get to draw on that medicine too. Let's see what else we have. We have one more here to show you. So this one's bear. There's a really long wait list for bear, but we do have some. This one's a 10-inch bear. And then horse. This one's called Liberty, and it's beautiful because I have a paint horse painting, and this was a paint. Her name is Liberty because the medicine of horse is freedom. It is claiming that liberty when we want to have a renewal, like reclaiming it after being domesticated. What do horses represent but freedom? Think of the wild Mustang that wants to run or be free, and how sassy they can be. And I want you to think of what they say in the movies when they have to rest a horse. We have to water the horses or she'll pass out. Horse is that drive that gives us that extra emphasis to go the last distance, to finish, to get things done, because there's that drive in there. Horse is also passion. So if you want to reignite some flames and your passion, we're dealing with a lot of that. So those were my drum babies. I'm super excited to show you. I definitely feel like a kid with their crayon art going, look at it, look at it, look at it. So bear with me and just laugh at me if I'm over the top a little bit. I want to thank you for hanging out with me. If you want me to come make drums with you, let me know. If you'd like for me to come do some ceremonial work, and you have a group that you want to get together, or a retreat that you're putting on, or a workshop. I'd be delighted to come out and offer services and provide ceremony and give you a safe container to move some energy. Keep your eye out also as an addendum here. My meditation class is up and going on the website. Also, lots of new things going on. I want to thank you for sticking it out with me. I promise that I have a goal to set out and come and visit with you every day. So thank you for hanging out with me. Keep your questions ready, and I will catch you on the flip side. Adonai, beloved.